The All Blacks have just done the unthinkable. Okay, I lost my cool there for a second, but New Zealand have just announced their home fixtures for the 2025 season. Now, about a week or two ago, the Springboks released their home fixtures: Italy, Georgia, Australia. So we knew that we were going to play New Zealand away from home for both Rugby Championship games. And New Zealand have just done the unthinkable. They have scheduled the first All Black versus Springbok test match on the 6th of December at Eden Park. Now, if you don't know, Eden Park is New Zealand's fortress. They are 50 games unbeaten at Eden Park. The last time the Springboks won at Eden Park was in 1937. So when I say that the All Blacks are not over the 2023 Rugby World Cup final loss, I mean it. And this is proof. Because New Zealand, they've lost 4 times in a row now to the Springboks. One before the 2023 Rugby World Cup, the final, and then now back-to-back in the Rugby Championship this year in South Africa. So you know what they've done? You know what they've said? They said, let's take the Springboks to our fortress, 50 games unbeaten. Let's put it all on the line and try and put these Springboks in their place. Now, you have to give them credit because they're putting it all on the line. If the Springboks go to Eden Park and beat them, then the Springboks are undoubtedly the best team in the world. It's almost impossible to go to Eden Park and get a win over the All Blacks. So for them to put that all on the line kind of shows the type of balls that they have on them. Because if they end up losing to the Springboks, they are never, ever going to live that one down. And it might be the biggest win in Springbok history. Now, to add some more fuel to the fire, Steve Hansen has been making some comments this last week about the Rugby World Cup final. He's been stirring the pot, saying that the All Blacks were robbed in the 2023 Rugby World Cup final. Now, I think Steve Hansen's a very, very clever man. I think he knew that the announcement of Eden Park a couple days after these comments was going to come out, and this is him just stirring it up and building that clash to be as big as it can be. I mean, I don't think we need anyone to stir the pot. We all know how big that fixture is. And it's very, very scary as a Springbok supporter. We know from the 2019 Chasing the Sun how difficult it is to win in New Zealand. I mean, the Springboks celebrated a draw against New Zealand in Wellington in 2019 before the Rugby World Cup, because that told them that they could win the Rugby World Cup final, that they could beat and keep up with New Zealand in New Zealand. This season for New Zealand has been a little bit topsy-turvy, quite turbulent, but they're in that rebuilding phase, right? So All Blacks are trying to rebuild this All Black side to target that 2027 Rugby World Cup. And even though they've maybe been at 70 or 80% this year, once they get up to that 100% mark, they're going to be very, very difficult to stop. And I think at the moment, New Zealand are probably one of the favorites to win the 2027 Rugby World Cup, just given their trajectory. I mean, Wallace Atiti just won Breakthrough Player of the Year. He's an absolute animal, and they're slowly introducing these younger players to sort of build to that 2027 Rugby World Cup. So I think this is a very, very clever move from the All Blacks. Let's take the Springboks to Eden Park after they've only played Italy twice, Georgia, and Australia at home. So not the competition of New Zealand away from home. We needed maybe an Ireland or France to really test ourselves before going to New Zealand. So it's a very, very clever move from the All Blacks, because if the All Blacks end up beating the Springboks, then that's a feather in their cap. Then they've beaten the world number ones, the double back-to-back World Cup winners. Then New Zealand can really kick on from that Rugby Championship into 2026, which is another big year for Springbok All Black Rugby, because I think we're having 3 or 5 tests against the All Blacks in that 2026 year. And then we're into 2027 and it's the Rugby World Cup. So I think that this first test on the 6th of September in Eden Park is the start of a very, very interesting storyline building up to that 2027 Rugby World Cup, because we go Eden Park, 50 games unbeaten. The last time the Springboks won there was 1937. We then go to Wellington again, which is away from home for the Springboks against New Zealand. It's very difficult. And then we play that series in 2026, and then we head into the 2027 Rugby World Cup in Australia. So I think it's a very clever move from the All Blacks to put Eden Park first, to try and get that win over the Springboks, and then sort of build that momentum over that 5 to 7 game period before the 2027 Rugby World Cup to really to really see who the dominant team is and who's going to go into that World Cup with the momentum and with that little edge over their Southern Hemisphere rival. So it's a big announcement. Eden Park, I feel like New Zealand are on a little bit of a revenge arc for the 2023 Rugby World Cup final. Steve Hansen's comments. It's going to be a big, big year next year for the Springboks, because if they can get over New Zealand twice in New Zealand, then nothing can stop them. Then they have a free run to that 2027 Rugby World Cup with more games against New Zealand in 2026 with nothing really to fear because we've beaten them away from home. It's very interesting. It's absolutely massive. I'm so excited for the 6th of September 2025. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Leave this video a like, and as always, hit that subscribe button. Come on, Boca!